investors appear to be taking positions ahead of the release of the third quarter earnings. This was evident last week as the Nigerian equities market touched its peak volume level, with strength coming from tremendous trade activities in the shares of First Bank Holdings, which is also reported its biggest daily volume since the inception of the year. Now, what would investors eye ahead of the release of Q3 earnings? Tijani Oladipupo, business head at Norrenberger Advisory, joins me to discuss this. Tijani, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. As you know, it's the last trading week for the month of September. But of course, as you've rightly noted, investors are eyeing Q3 earnings already. We know that the market is always in search of the next catalyst to spur massive or significant activity. Talk to us about these expectations for Q3 numbers.
All right, thanks for having me. Like you may want to agree with me, our expectations are pretty high, and that's what we've seen closing out last week with the release from some of the banks. In terms of what the market is expecting in Q3, the expectations are very high, bearing what we've seen in the last couple of months in the fixed income market. So far, our investors have not seen an interesting moment with yields on most of these highly capitalized instruments as low as 2-3%. I must say that investors are not quite happy. However, on that basis, we expect that this market is hoping that these will have a significant turnaround in terms of what to expect from them.
As we wrap up the month of September, trading this month, how would you describe it? Perhaps in one word, would you say investors, has been a bad month for investors? What kind of month has this been for investors?
I would say for investors, I think it's below expectations. That's what I'm going to say, because obviously we can see that even from analyst forecasts, you can see that the yields or earnings are practically far below what the expectations were. So it's not, I think it's quite a disappointing one.
What is your forecast for bargain hunting? Let's talk about trading this week. A forecast for bargain hunting this week and where investors are going to be looking for value.
So it looks near here and there for bargain hunting, much as we did last month on the back of expectations in the markets. We will have hoped that to see yields as close to double digits, close to what investors are expecting in the fixed income market. But of course, because that didn't happen, I don't expect to see anything significantly different for what has happened thus far to this part of the month.
Now, as we go wrap up the month and going forward, what economic events do you think investors are watching? I'm sure they are watching events around the FX, the Naira dollar, the successful $4 billion Eurobond issue on the part of the federal government. What are those top issues, economic issues that are top of mind for investors right now?
Of course, you can see investors continue to look to the Apex MPC position as to what came up last week. Inflation rates, exchange rates, of course, you can see the reason investors' appetite is switching to holding foreign currency denominated assets. These are part of some of the expectations, and that's why it's most important that the Naira denominated, the local currency denominated assets must, of course, command high yields for it to be attractive to the market. These are part of things investors are looking into. So the back of these variables is hope that we can see what yields can actually throw up investors' appetite towards the last quarter of the year.
Now, despite all the headwinds, a number of stocks actually have obviously outperformed the index and could be, on the list of, the best performers so far this year. Which one of them, those stocks come to mind for you, one or two of them, and the fundamentals that continue to support their story?
So basically, in terms of what to expect, we still see that speaking of bargain hunting and what stocks actually sell within, we still see the likes of Access Bank, GT Bank, Zenith, in the axis, and then of course in the other sectors, so in the health sectors, for instance, you have Pharmadeco, and in insurance, you have Custodian, stocks that are still doing quite fine in terms of their intrinsic values to look towards the last quarter of the year.
Tijani, just before I let you go, what is your forecast for trading this week? Bullish, on the fence?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be on the fence because, like I said, it's both ways. Investors are looking into we've seen quite a little disappointment in terms of earnings, and of course, on the other side, too, those bargain hunting on the back of intrinsically high value stocks.